There were 34 lemon candles on the cake. Not 34 years, just 34 candles. All lemon-scented. Lit at once. That's the part no one talks about. How absolutely overwhelming lemon can be when it's on fire in bulk. But that wasn't the weird part. The weird part was that no one moved when she grabbed the mic. Not the DJ, who had just transitioned from Earth, Wind and Fire into some hyperpop remix that didn't fit the room. Not my coworker Jasper, who was in the middle of choking on a shrimp skewer. Not even me, whose name was spelled wrong on the cake, Keetan. We all just stood there, like some god-awful indie film frozen on a frame right before something goes horribly wrong. She cleared her throat. Twice. Then tapped the mic once. I wasn't going to say anything tonight, she began. But the lies are getting too loud. The DJ literally ducked behind his booth. Jasper stopped chewing. The lemon-scented inferno crackled behind her like the gates of citrus hell. She looked directly at me. No smile. No apology in her face. Just that terrifying calm people have when they've already made peace with the fallout. For the past 11 months, she said, I've been lying to Keetan. To all of you. Someone whispered, what the F*******, but it came out more like air. I've fallen in love with someone else. And he's here tonight. You know those moments when your brain tries to explain things away in real time? Like, oh, this must be a game. Maybe it's a roast? Maybe I'm in a fever dream and none of this is real, because clearly, my wife wouldn't say that on a mic at my birthday party in front of my high school math teacher, my landlord, and my boss. But no, this was real. Very real. My stomach flipped so hard I felt the tequila from earlier try to make a second appearance. I didn't even know where to look. Everyone was looking at me, and I was looking at her, and she was scanning the room like she was about to call someone on stage to accept an award. Then she said it. She said his name. And I swear, my reality split in half like cheap plywood. But here's the kicker. The moment that broke me wasn't when I found out who he was. It was what she said after that. Something so specific, so quietly cruel, that I walked straight out the fire exit without grabbing my coat, phone, or dignity. And I haven't gone home since. The second she said his name, something in my brain short-circuited. Like, I genuinely thought I misheard her. I had to blink several times just to make sure I wasn't hallucinating. You know how your body reacts before your mind does. That was me. My heart had already started racing before my brain even processed what she'd said. Declan. That was the name. My cousin. My best friend growing up. The one person I always said was more like a brother than blood could ever make him. That Declan. The guy who used to sleep on our couch in college. The guy who cried when he gave a toast at our wedding. The guy who, 6 weeks ago, I drove to the airport for his solo trip to Iceland to clear his head. Turns out, his head was pretty damn clear. The room didn't react instantly. It was like everyone was waiting for the punchline. Like this was all some avant-garde joke only she and Declan were in on. But the punchline never came. Just silence. Heavy and hot. Someone dropped a fork and it sounded like a gunshot. I looked around the room, scanning faces. Some people were already staring at Declan. Others were still watching me, like spectators at a train crossing where the gates are coming down, waiting for the collision. And him? He was leaning against the bar, arms crossed, like he didn't owe me everything. Mara didn't stop. She kept going. She said, we didn't mean for it to happen. It started last Christmas when Keetan was visiting his mom in Michigan. Everyone turned their eyes back to her. That wasn't just information, it was confirmation. A timestamp. A receipt. Like she wanted everyone to know it wasn't a one-time mistake, not some drunken lapse of judgment. It had a season. A start date. A twisted little anniversary they probably joked about over text. I don't want to keep living a lie, she added. And I'm not asking for forgiveness. I just needed to say it out loud. Say it out loud? In front of my co-workers, my childhood dentist, my high school history teacher, who weirdly came, and the guy I literally trusted with my spare apartment key? I felt a pressure in my head I've never felt before, like my skull was filling with hot air. I remember looking down at my hands just to see if they were shaking. They weren't. I was weirdly calm, cold, numb. My body had decided to retreat and leave my brain alone in the wreckage. Then Declan had the audacity to take a step forward. Just one. But it was enough to trigger something primal in me. I didn't say anything. I didn't scream or shout or throw the mic stand across the room like a rock star. I just walked. Past the stage. Past Mara. Past the guy from work who mouthed, I'm so sorry. past the girl I dated for 3 months in college who apparently still kept in touch with Mara for some reason. I pushed open the fire exit door and walked out into the alley. The cold hit me like a slap, and I let it. I stood there for maybe 5 minutes, breathing in garbage air, while the lemon candles and betrayal burned behind me. I didn't cry. I wanted to. I felt the pressure. But nothing came out. I was beyond that. I was somewhere else, some version of myself I'd never met until that exact moment. Then my phone buzzed. It was still in my jacket pocket. A message from Mara. Just 3 words. Please come back. I didn't reply. Instead, I opened my notes app and typed 5 words I hadn't even thought through before they left my thumbs. This marriage is officially over. And just as I hit save, a second message came through. From a number I didn't recognize. And that message? It changed everything again. The message came in at 10:42 p.m. No contact name. Just a random string of digits that didn't even look familiar. Area code from out of state. My brain wasn't exactly in puzzle-solving mode, but I opened it out of habit. You don't know everything. She left out the worst part. No punctuation. No emojis. Just cold text. Clinical. At first, I thought maybe it was some kind of prank. Someone from the party being cruel for sport. People get drunk and weird, and this night had already proven anything was possible. But something about that message stopped me. There was weight behind it. Intent. I stared at it so long the screen dimmed. My breath clouded in the alleyway. I could still hear the muffled bass thumping through the venue wall behind me, like the party hadn't just exploded 30 feet away. Like my marriage hadn't just snapped in half. I looked down at the message again, read it 3 times, and my stomach did that lurching thing it always does before a panic attack. I did what no one in horror movies ever does. I called the number. It rang twice. Then a voice answered. Calm. Male. Mid-30s, maybe 40. Keetan, he said. I need you to listen to me. And I need you to not interrupt. I opened my mouth, but nothing came out. The voice was familiar, but I couldn't place it. He continued. You don't know me. Not directly. But I know what your wife and Declan did. And if she didn't tell you everything tonight, it's because she's still trying to protect herself. I stepped further into the alley, away from the door, where the music couldn't reach me. My pulse was doing double time. This felt surreal. Like I had entered some bizarre side quest in my own life, where anonymous callers were offering cryptic marital plot twists. Who are you? I finally asked. There was a pause. Then, I'm someone she used to know. Someone who got caught in the same kind of lie you did. And I figured, if she's finally unraveling, maybe it's time you heard the truth. All of it. I should have hung up. I should have gone back inside and thrown cake at Declan's face or something primal and satisfying. But instead, I leaned against the brick wall and listened like some haunted statue waiting to be smashed. He went on. Your wife isn't just sleeping with Declan. She was engaged before you. Did she ever tell you that? My mind blanked. That was not what I expected to hear. No, I said slowly. She said she had one serious boyfriend before me, but it didn't end well. She didn't mention it ended because he caught her with his brother? Silence. Just silence. I didn't breathe. He wasn't done. She did the same thing to him. To me. You. It's a pattern. She gets bored. Then she reaches for the nearest thing that looks like home, but isn't. Someone close to the person she's supposed to love. Someone within arm's reach. She doesn't cheat out of lust. She cheats for control. To see how far she can twist the knife without you noticing you're bleeding. I closed my eyes, and my body started to sway. I had to crouch just to keep from throwing up. Not because I believed him right away, but because some part of me already had. The little things, her rewriting of past stories, the vague answers, the way she always blamed me for being too sensitive, too anxious, too paranoid. This guy wasn't telling me anything I hadn't already suspected. He was just giving shape to the shadows I'd been too afraid to name. Why are you telling me this? I asked. My voice cracked. I hated how weak I sounded. Like a man unraveling over a phone call in an alley behind his own party. Because I never got closure, he said. And because you deserve a chance to leave before you become like the rest of us. Just another name on her list. The call ended without warning. Just a dead click. I stared at the black screen for maybe a full minute before I stood up, walked down the block, and sat on a bench next to a closed-tie restaurant. There were paper lanterns still glowing in the window. Something about them felt safe. I didn't go back to the party. Didn't even text anyone. I just sat there for a long time, letting everything sink in. the affair, the mic, the cousin, the unknown voice. But the worst part was this. Deep down, I knew this wasn't over. Not even close. Because if Mara was capable of all that, what else was I about to find out? I ended up sleeping in my car that night. Well, sleeping is generous. I sat in the driver's seat of my decade-old sedan, parked in a 24-hour grocery store lot, with the seat halfway reclined and my coat bunched up as a pillow. The interior smelled like old fries and resignation. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw her face at that mic, eyes dead calm, mouth just barely smirking. Like it wasn't just a confession, it was a purge. At some point during the night, I must have passed out. I woke up around 6:15 a.m. to the sound of a cart boy crashing a stack of metal carts into the corral behind me. My neck felt like it had been replaced with drywall, and my mouth tasted like regret. I had no idea where to go. Not home. Not yet. I didn't want to see her. Didn't want to breathe the same air, not until I could figure out if anything she'd ever said to me had even been real. I was still thinking about that phone call. The mystery man. The one who claimed to be her ex-fiancé, or someone connected to the wreckage of her past. Either way, the accusation had stuck like tar. I drove around for a while. Past the diner where we'd had our third date. Past the gym she suddenly became obsessed with last year. Past Declan's old apartment. Now empty, apparently, as if the universe had compacted everything awful into one drive-through route. Eventually, my gas light came on, and I had to make a decision. Go home or keep running. I went home. I parked across the street like a stranger and stared at our apartment window. The blinds were closed. Lights off. It looked quiet, peaceful, like the front cover of a book that had nothing to do with the war inside. The door was unlocked. Of course it was. She always forgot to lock it when she was emotionally charged. I used to find it endearing. Now it just felt careless. I stepped inside and didn't say a word. The place smelled like lemon cake and melted wax. Streamers still drooped from the ceiling like wilted flowers. A few paper plates sat on the coffee table, one with a slice of cake someone had taken a single bite from and then abandoned. She wasn't there. I wasn't sure if I was relieved or disappointed. The bedroom looked untouched, but the bed was missing one pillow mine. I moved like a ghost through the hallway, not really knowing what I was looking for. Maybe something to confirm the phone call was real. Maybe some twisted part of me just wanted to see it. Evidence, texts, photos, anything. That's when I remembered the drawer. There's a small antique cabinet in our closet. It belonged to her grandmother, I think. Painted mint green, little brass handles. She'd always kept it locked and said it was just sentimental junk. I never pushed. But now, everything about that drawer screamed at me. I took a flathead from the kitchen drawer and popped the lock. The thing gave way faster than I expected. My hands were shaking. Inside, there were photos, letters, a few printed emails, some old Polaroids curled at the edges. I didn't know what I was looking for until I found it. A letter, still sealed, with my name written on the front. Handwritten. In her handwriting. My heart stopped. I sat down on the edge of the bed and just stared at it for a solid minute. Then I tore it open. Inside was a letter dated 7 months ago. In it, Mara confessed to a moment of weakness that had happened while I was away for work. A complicated reconnection with someone from her past. She didn't name him, but the context made it obvious. It was Declan. She said she'd ended it, that it was over, that she was writing the letter because she wanted to tell me someday, if she ever found the courage. But she never gave me the letter. She hid it, wrote out the truth, and then buried it in a drawer like a time bomb with no countdown. I don't know what hurt more, the fact that she cheated, or the fact that she once intended to be honest and then chose silence. Not just once, but again and again. Through dinners, date nights, holidays, anniversaries. All of it varnished with fake smiles and borrowed time. And yet, that wasn't even the worst thing I found in the drawer. At the bottom, underneath everything, was a small manila envelope with a thumb drive inside. It was labeled in red Sharpie. Insurance. I stared at it for a long, long time. Because if Mara had secrets worth backing up on a flash drive and hiding under fake letters and family heirlooms, then I hadn't even scratched the surface. I plugged it into my laptop with shaking hands. And what I saw on that screen, it wasn't just betrayal. It was a blueprint for the collapse of everything I ever believed about our marriage. When the flash drive loaded, the first thing I saw was a single folder named "Do Not Open Unless Necessary," which, naturally, meant I opened it immediately. Inside were 8 files. For videos, 2 PDFs, 1 audio recording, and a text document titled Notes. The timestamps on everything ranged from last September to a week ago, right before the party. I started with the text file. My laptop fan spun up like it knew what I was about to find. It wasn't long. Just a few paragraphs, all in her tone, detached, methodical, like she was writing a grocery list rather than documenting her marriage disintegrating. The first line read, "If it comes to this, at least the truth will survive me." I froze at that. Survive her? I reread it twice. That wording didn't sound like someone preparing to confess. It sounded like someone preparing to vanish. She wrote about me, about us, but not the way I remembered it. Every entry reframed our entire relationship like she'd been an observer rather than a participant. She talked about my patterns of dependency, my emotional softness, and how it made her curious to test boundaries. Test boundaries, like our marriage had been a social experiment. The final paragraph made my skin crawl. She wrote, "He still trusts me. That's the most dangerous part." I slammed the laptop shut and sat back, feeling the blood in my ears pulse like static. I thought about the letter I found, the moment of weakness, one she'd never given me. That sounded like remorse. But this was clinical, cold, as if she'd been keeping score. I told myself not to open the videos, that I'd already seen enough. But curiosity is the cruelest survival instinct. It convinces you that the next truth will hurt less. It never does. The first video was grainy, filmed on her phone. The angle showed our living room, our couch, the stupid blue throw blanket she always complained about but never replaced. And then her, sitting across from Declan. No kissing, no touching, just talking. But what she was saying made my stomach twist. She was describing me, my habits, my insecurities, my routines, like I was a case file. Declan laughed when she mentioned how I always double-check the locks before bed. "He doesn't trust the world," she said, smiling. "But he trusts me." Then she looked straight into the camera. I don't know if she knew it was recording or not, but that half-smile, the one that made strangers think she was kind, it flickered. She didn't look guilty. She looked in control. The second video was worse. Different date. Same setting. She was alone this time, talking to the camera directly. She said things that didn't make sense at first, phrases like "staging it right" and "people need a narrative." She mentioned my birthday, the rooftop venue, the speech. That's when it hit me. She hadn't blurted out that confession because of guilt. She'd planned it, scripted it. My humiliation wasn't an accident. It was choreography. The audio file confirmed it. Her voice, whispering into what sounded like a recorder on her phone. If it all collapses, at least there'll be proof he wasn't who everyone thought. Everyone will know what he did first. What I did first. I sat there, trying to breathe, trying to piece together what she meant. I hadn't done anything. I hadn't cheated, lied, or even argued with her beyond mild frustration about chores. So what story was she building? What version of me was she rewriting in advance? I clicked open one of the PDFs. It was a copy of a police complaint draft, never filed, accusing me of harassment. My name, our address, detailed claims of emotional manipulation and verbal control, none of which had ever happened. I felt my whole body go cold. I scrolled to the signature line. It wasn't signed, just dated. 2 weeks before the party. That was the moment I realized the truth. Mara wasn't self-destructing. She was preparing an exit, one designed to leave me with the blame. I ejected the flash drive, staring at my reflection in the black laptop screen. My own eyes looked wrong, hollow, like someone I didn't recognize. And then my phone buzzed again. Same unknown number as before. This time, the message wasn't cryptic. It was direct. "If you want proof she's not done yet, check your email inbox now." I opened it, and what I saw waiting there made everything inside me collapse. Because it wasn't a message from Mara. It was from Declan, and the subject line just said, "We need to talk. Alone." I didn't open the email right away. My cursor hovered over it like my brain was trying to protect me from what might be behind that subject line. "We need to talk. Alone." From Declan. Sent at 6:12 a.m., just over an hour ago. Which meant that while I was still sitting numb in the car, staring at sunrise through a crusted windshield, he was somewhere, awake, composing a message like we were still cousins. Like there was anything left to say between us. Eventually, curiosity caved in my hesitation. I clicked it. There was no greeting. No "hey man." No apology. Just 4 lines. "There's more going on than you think. I'm not proud of my part in this. She used me too. It wasn't supposed to go this far." I didn't know what she was planning until last night. No punctuation. No detail. Just desperation baked into every word. And then, below that, "Meet me tonight. Parking lot of the old observatory. 9:30. Come alone." At first, I thought it was a trap. It sounded like something from a bad thriller. Why the secrecy? Why not just call? Or, not sleep with my wife and then send me secret messages like a war buddy? But the worst part? Some part of me still wanted answers. That's the thing about betrayal. It doesn't kill trust right away. It bleeds it out slowly, like your instincts are still clinging to the version of the person you used to know. The one who helped you build Lego sets as a kid. The one who held your mother's hand at your dad's funeral. You want to believe there's something left. That someone can do a monstrous thing without being a monster. I stared at the message until the screen timed out. The rest of the day was a haze. I didn't go back to work. I didn't call anyone. I didn't eat. I just walked. For hours. Through streets I barely recognized. Eyes blurry with sleep deprivation and 1,000 rotting questions. What had Mara meant in her recordings? Why would she stage a fake abuse complaint? What was Declan's angle now? By the time evening hit, I knew I was going. I didn't even bother texting him back. I figured if he was lying, I'd find out soon enough. If he wasn't, well, then I needed to hear it from his mouth. I parked near the old observatory just after 9:20. It was mostly abandoned now, defunded, graffitied, used mostly by teenagers looking to get high or fake deep about the stars. The main lot was empty except for one car I recognized immediately. Declan's Subaru. The same one we road-tripped in junior year. The same one he used to sneak out with Mara after my birthday 2 years ago, something I hadn't thought about until now. He was sitting on the hood, hoodie up, smoking a cigarette like a noir side character trying to be edgy. He saw me coming and stood, hands raised, like I was the one holding a weapon. "Keetan," he said, "I'm not here to fight." "You've got 3 minutes," I replied. My voice was flatter than I expected. I felt like I'd stepped out of my own body 2 days ago and hadn't been invited back in yet. He nodded, tossed the cigarette, looked down like a scolded teenager. "She told me it was over between you two," he began. "Said she just needed a soft place to land. That you were checked out, distant, obsessed with your job." I didn't say anything. I wanted to see how far he'd dig his own grave. At first, it was casual. She'd vent. I'd listen. I didn't think it would go further. I swear. But then she got intense. Like paranoid. Started talking about getting out before things got messy. Started asking if I thought you'd ever hurt her. That word stopped me. Hurt. Did she ever say I did? I asked, voice low. "No," he said quickly. "Not directly. But she implied stuff. Subtle things. Like you had moods. Said she felt unsafe sometimes, but never explained why. And when I pushed, she'd change the subject." I felt cold. Like truly cold. Declan went on. "Last week, she told me she wanted to come clean. That she was going to flip the narrative before it flipped on her. I didn't know what she meant until last night. When she said it into the mic like it was some script. And the weirdest part? He paused, looked at me carefully. She wanted me to record it. I blinked. What? She told me to stand near the DJ booth. Said she wanted a good angle of you when she said his name. Mine. Like she wanted to capture the moment you broke. I felt the ground tilt. Just a little. Not enough to fall, but enough to know gravity was no longer a guarantee. And then, Declan added, reaching into his pocket, she gave me this. He handed me a folded piece of paper. I unfolded it, hands trembling. It was a typed note. One sentence. If he doesn't leave you after the party, give this to HR. Attached was a printed out email draft, addressed to my company's HR department, claiming I'd threatened her. Psychological abuse, gaslighting, unstable behavior, every buzzword that makes corporate America run for cover. And it had her signature. She wanted to burn you down, man, Declan said, quieter now. Not just end it, ruin you. And I don't even think it was about me. I was just convenient. The worst part? I believed him. Not because Declan deserved trust, he didn't, but because every piece of this sick mosaic was starting to fit. I walked away without another word, got in my car, drove nowhere, just circled the city like a ghost on a loop. Mara hadn't cheated because she was unhappy. She hadn't even cheated for love. She'd built a story, and now, I was the villain in it. I didn't sleep that night. Not even a second. I didn't go home either. I parked outside a 24-hour pharmacy in the suburbs and just stared at the entrance like it held answers. I watched people come and go, exhausted parents, night shift nurses, some guy in scrubs buying NyQuil and Red Bull. Meanwhile, my marriage was unspooling like crime scene tape in my head. Every memory was poisoned now. Every laugh we shared, every inside joke, every long drive or lazy Sunday, they didn't feel real anymore. Just props in a set I hadn't realized was fake. By morning, I knew what I had to do. I was going to confront her. Not over text. Not by email. Not through lawyers. In person. One time. One conversation. I didn't even know what I wanted out of it. Closure, revenge, maybe just a chance to see if any trace of the woman I loved was still hiding somewhere in the ruins. I waited until I knew she'd be home. Around 11 a.m., I drove back to the apartment we used to call ours. Her car was in the lot. Same dent in the bumper. Same faded parking pass still hanging from the mirror. It made me sick to look at it. I climbed the stairs slowly, each step heavier than the last. My hands were sweating and I hadn't eaten in almost 48 hours, but adrenaline was a meal all its own. I knocked once. Hard. She opened the door fast. Almost like she was expecting someone. But not me. The moment she saw me, her face shifted. And not to guilt. Not to fear. To calculation. She wasn't surprised. She was ready. "Keetan," she said, voice like silk over ice. "You look like you haven't slept." "You tried to destroy me," I said. Her mouth didn't even twitch. "I tried to leave a toxic situation." "Don't," I snapped. "Don't you dare rewrite this like I'm the one who did something wrong." She leaned against the doorframe, arms crossed, like we were discussing parking violations and not the emotional car crash she caused. "You were never going to leave me, even when you should have. So I made the first move. You just didn't like how it looked." My heart pounded. "You planned that speech. You planned the HR complaint. You gave Declan a script." "Declan," she snorted. "He's a child. He always was." I stepped inside without asking. She didn't stop me. "You recorded everything," I said. "You documented my moods, wrote letters about my emotional instability. You planted evidence in case you needed to make it look like I snapped." She shrugged. "You think courts care about the truth? They care about narratives." I was protecting myself. "From me." I barked. "I never laid a finger on you." "You didn't have to," she replied coldly. "You're soft, Keetan. But soft men break loud." That line. It rattled something inside me I didn't know was there. A fury so cold it felt surgical. "I gave you everything," I said, my voice quiet now. "I never asked you for more than honesty. And you used that trust like it was a weapon. You weaponized me." For a moment, just one flicker of time, I saw something crack in her. Maybe it was doubt. Maybe regret. Or maybe just the mask slipping for a second. But it vanished just as fast. She sat on the edge of the couch and said, "Do what you came here to do, Keetan. Yell, cry, threaten me with lawyers. But when you leave, this story is still mine. And by the time you get your footing, the world will already believe me." I pulled out my phone, opened the voice memos app, hit play. Her voice filled the room. Crisp, perfectly clear. She wanted me to record it. She said she wanted a good angle of you when she said his name. She wanted to capture the moment you broke. Her eyes widened, just slightly. Then came the second clip. "If he doesn't leave you after the party, give this to HR." That one landed. Her posture changed. Not panic, she was too good for that. But something like recalibration. Like a chess player who finally realized they might lose a piece. "You recorded me?" she asked. "No," I said. "Declan did. And he gave it to me. Along with the email you drafted. The one with your signature." She stood slowly, adjusting her sleeves. "So what now? You take me to court? Sue me for defamation? Good luck proving intent." "I don't need to," I said. "All I need is enough to stop you from doing this to someone else. And now I have it." I turned to leave. "Keetan," she called after me. I stopped. "You don't understand. This isn't about you. It never was. You were just a safe landing spot between who I was and who I need to become." I didn't turn around. I just said, "Then I hope you fall hard on the way." And I walked out, down the stairs, out into the daylight. No applause, no vindication, just the echo of her voice still poisoning the walls. But this time, I wasn't the one breaking. She was. Because for the first time since all of this began, She wasn't in control. It didn't end with lawyers. It didn't end with police reports, viral posts, or front-page scandals. It ended with silence. The kind of silence that doesn't mean defeat, but peace. After I walked out of the apartment, I didn't look back. I didn't reread the letters. I didn't keep the flash drive. I dropped it all into a safety deposit box, locked it with no intention of ever opening it again. Not because I was afraid of what it held, but because I no longer needed proof. I knew who I was, and I knew what she tried to make me become. I started over. Not all at once. At first, it was small things. Changing my number, taking a leave from work, canceling joint accounts, returning things she'd left at the apartment without reading the notes she slipped into the boxes. For a while, I lived in a friend's spare room above a noisy cafe. The floors creaked like bones and the water ran rusty in the morning, but it was mine. No lies there. No stage lighting. Just quiet mornings and the smell of coffee. Mara didn't contact me again. Maybe because she knew she lost control. Or maybe because, deep down, she needed me to be the villain in her story, and I refused to play the role. As for Declan, he left town. Last I heard, he moved to Arizona. No forwarding address. No more emails. I don't forgive him, but I don't carry him with me anymore either. People ask if I feel bitter, or angry, or stupid, and yeah, sometimes I do. I have nights where I lie awake and wonder how long it was fake. How much of us was just her rearranging the furniture of my love until it looked like her idea. But then I remember something my therapist, yeah, I got one, told me during our second session. She said, people who lie try to shrink the world around you. Your job is to build it back bigger. So that's what I did. I went back to school, finished the degree I put off for years. I started journaling, something I used to mock. I found new friends, new places, new versions of myself that had been buried under all the pretending. And the best part? I met someone. Her name is Elise. We met at a used bookstore where we both reached for the same copy of The Stranger by Camus. I told her it was pretentious. She told me I looked like someone who listened to sad indie rock and cried during dog commercials. We were both right. We took it slow. I told her everything. Not all at once, but piece by piece, like pulling glass shards from a wound. She listened, didn't flinch. She didn't try to fix me, just stood beside me while I put myself back together. Now, a year later, we live in a place with bad wallpaper and a view of nothing in particular, but it's real, and quiet, and safe. No secrets, no scripts. Sometimes, I still think about that night. The mic, the candles, the cake, but it's distant now. Like watching a movie about someone else's heartbreak. A chapter in a book I've already closed. The pain was real. The betrayal was sharp. But it didn't define me. It revealed me. And I like the man I found underneath the wreckage. I'm not broken. I'm rebuilt.